I see my friend Sadiq has joined. Alhamdulillah. Good to see you,
Faisal,
Sadiq.
you may start. So we are recording and we are live now.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. I'd like to welcome all of you to the first program of the year. It's a 6-month series, but alhamdulillah, Muharram Mubarak to everyone. You all know that we're in a very sacred time of the year. You know, Muharram not only marks the beginning of the year, the beginning of the Hijrah, but also one of the most 4 sacred months of the year. And the first 10 days are exceedingly religious. And the day of Ashura is one of the most sacred days of the entire year. And in that regard, we have our Imam Omer Bajwa to come and talk to us about all of this. And he's actually a real friend of the community. I think those of you who've been at ICB Wayland for a while will remember he's done a bunch of programs for us. And I actually thought that he lived right here. Turns out he's actually at Yale in Connecticut. But we've got to invite you again. Come and do a khutbah for us. Yale's not that far away, Imam. And as by way of introduction, he's the director of Muslim life in the chaplain's office at Yale, and has been engaged in religious services, interreligious engagement for over 20 years. He received his Islamic chaplaincy from Hartford Seminary and has been educated both at Binghamton and Cornell universities. And his real interest is in the intersection of culture, media, politics, and spirituality. And I'll put a plug in that he's written a book, Mantle of Mercy, Islamic Chaplaincy in North America. Maybe you can tell us more about that, Imam Omer. But we welcome you again to the ICB Wayland community. We really look forward to hearing from you today on this, really sacred and important time of the year, but also, inshallah, to invite you in person to come and, give us some of your ilm, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, and the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Ameen. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you so much to the ICB Wayland leadership team for inviting me. It's an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to be with you again. You've been very good to me and invited me many times in the past. And so it's great to be with you here again, and really coming out of the pandemic, and we have accessibility now, to do these remotely. So thank you very much. And I'm very honored to be invited to be part of your series. And I'm told that this is also going to be, inshallah, accessible for your community, even after the fact, by it's being live streamed also for the recording. So thank you for all of the technical help, and thank you to BIS, the Boston Islamic Seminary, for also I've given talks for with them and through them, and so thank you to them as well. Jazakallah khair. So I'm going to share my screen momentarily, and so I've been, as I said, we are at the beginning of the month of Muharram, and we're going to talk much more about what that means. So I prepared a slideshow with several key ayahs and hadith, and really notes from my teachers, from my own learning and education about this. And so I'm going to share my slideshow right now, and then inshallah you can follow along. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Muharram is called the month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's been called that in our sacred texts. And so that's just to sort of frame it today. And I just have this sort of place setting. I love Istanbul. It's my favorite city in the entire world. One of my teachers lives there. I've studied with him, and I've traveled there many times. And so I just wanted to give you a picture of the skyline of Istanbul to start with. And in fact, in most summers, I'm going to visit my teacher to continue my studies, as well as doing some teaching there myself in Istanbul. So I'm this summer, fortunately, getting to spend a lot of time with my family and friends, given the year that we've had. So this is just a picture of the skyline at night at Maghrib time, and actually that's a picture of the Hagia Sophia right there. So without further ado, to get right into it. So Muharram, I want to say that there's actually a lot of, mashallah, great sources and material online. I want to give a plug. There's actually a fantastic lecture that Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad from Cambridge, UK gave, a khutbah he gave many years ago that I've listened to again and again. I find it very meaningful. It's online, you can find it, it's English, and it's called Muharram New Beginnings. And so a part of my notes are pulled from that. I just want to give credit to and cite my sources. So obviously the ayah that we reference in the Quran here is surah number 9, ayah number 36 in translation. Verily, the number of months with Allah is 12 months. So it was ordained on the day that he created the heavens and earth. 4 of them are sacred. That is the right religion. So do not wrong yourselves during them. And of the 4 that's being referenced there, Muharram is one of the 4 that's being that is being named by or referenced by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a hadith in Imam Bukhari's recension in which Rasulullah ﷺ is reported to have said, the year 12 months, of which 4 are sacred, the 3 consecutive months of Zulqa'dah, Zulhijjah, and Muharram, and Rajab, which comes between Jumada and Shaban. And another hadith in Imam Muslim's recension, the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of fasts after Ramadan is the month of Allah, known as Muharram, and the best of prayers after the obligatory ones are the night prayers. So I want to use these proof texts in the beginning to really help frame what I'm going to talk about today. So, we have entered, the Islamic year 1446, so 1446 years after the hijrah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Muharram is the first month of the Islamic calendar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deems it sacred. The Prophet told it that it's sacred, and Muharram happens to be in the Islamic calendar the first of the months. And so the Prophet, when he names something or shows a nisbah, shows an attachment or a connection between something, when he names it, when even greater, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names it, then you know that this is a very august, a very majestic thing, a very powerful thing. And so the Prophet in this hadith that I cite at the bottom of that page is that the best of fast after Ramadan is the month of Allah, known as Muharram, just so that we understand that we're in a very special sacred time, as was referenced before. I'll just move on, and then I'll stop and sort of annotate these slides throughout. Now, the beautiful thing, and it's a long history to it, but we'll get right into it, which is that, the Islamic calendar starts with an event. And actually, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh is credited as being the one who establishes the Islamic calendar, the Hijri calendar, from our understanding. And Sayyidina Umar did mashwara, it said, with his companions, with other Sahaba, and they looked at what were the momentous events in early Islamic history. Obviously, you had things like the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You had events like the Battle of Badr, the Battle of Uhud, which were themselves very momentous occasions in the history and the unfolding of Islam and Islamic history. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would say, blessed and inspired Sayyidina Umar, who was renowned for his connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as an aside point, but what is really important is that, there scholars say over 20 places in which the opinion and the thoughts and the opinions and the ijtihad of Sayyidina Umar was actually validated by ayat of the Quran Sharif, so that he was blessed with this basira, with this spiritual vision, because of his attachment and connection to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and attachment and connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah ta'ala really guided his heart. And so we say Allahu alam, but ultimately he made the decision with the companions at that time to date the Islamic calendar from the hijrah, of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from Makkah Mukarramah to Medina Munawwara. And really that, for our purposes, is like the dawn of this new era, this new Islamic era. And so hijrah, in my notes here, signifies an Islamic era and a new way of life. And really it's the establishing of these two really profound categories of the Sahaba, the Ansar and the Muhajirin. And the hijrah brings forward an age of forgiveness, hospitality, charity, and generosity of spirit. And, there's so much to unpack. I want to leave time at the end. I have a lot of slides to get through, so I'm going to gloss over bits of this. My apologies right now, but I do want to leave time for conversation at the end. But that the part of the story that's relevant here is that the people of Yathrib, which later on becomes Medina Munawwara, that the Sahaba that were there and the denizens of Medina or of Yathrib at the time were having a lot of internecine conflict. And it's with, they bring in the Prophet as this really incredibly valued and trusted and respected outside mediator to come and to mediate their conflict. And that begins the sort of the essence of the hijrah, because of, the crucible of Makkah had become so toxic, to use sort of a modern metaphor, with what was the oppression, the dhulm, the torture that was going on against the Muhajirin, against the Sahaba in Makkah, that really this era, this movement, this physical movement, is also paralleled with this idea of forgiveness and hospitality that the Ansar showed to the Muhajirin, that really this akhuwa, this brotherhood and sisterhood, this fraternity and sorority that's established between the companions when they come there. And there's generosity, the expansiveness of the spirit. And so, our scholars reference the ayah here, Surah 4, verse number 100, and whoever migrates in the path of Allah shall find abundant recompense and breath. And so the classical ulama, the classical interpretation of the idea of hijrah, and hijrah here will translate as a migration, and this is what's relevant to the topic I want to give today, because we could go through a long, detailed analysis of the history and historicity of the moment, but that's not the focus right now. But the essence of it is, it's to migrate from what is forbidden. migrate from what is dangerous, migrate from that which is harmful, migrate from that which is inhospitable. And all of these ideas, the idea there is that if something is inhospitable, if something is toxic, if something is dangerous, is that there's an element Allah Ta'ala wants to protect you from, right? That there's a danger there and it's ultimately forbidden for you, right? This is the idea of what is haram. Haram in its essence is that which is harmful and deleterious to the human mind, to the human body, to the human psyche, to the human spirit, to human societies, to human families, and all of that. That's why Allah Ta'ala sets up these parameters through the Sharia, through the Quran and Sunnah to tell us that this is what is halal and tayyib, what is beneficial, what's holistic for you, what is going to be proved to be nurturing and nourishing for you, to help you thrive, to help you really flourish, and then the opposite of that, which is haram. That which is forbidden out of the infinite wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it is detrimental, because it is deleterious, because it's going to have a corrosive effect on your body, on your mind, on your relationships, on your dunya and your akhirah, right? That's why Allah Ta'ala, just so we understand at a meta level, right? So that we, our hearts understand, and actually I also want to say, so that not just we as individual Muslims, so that I have a family, I have children, I have siblings, I have people that I'm accountable to, I have people that I'm in a relationship to, so that we build these strong, very powerful Islamic consciousnesses, right, in our households, in our relationships, amongst our friend circles, so that we understand that there's a deep wisdom when Allah Ta'ala says, this is the path that I have chosen for you, and this is the path that I want you to, I'm protecting you from. I'm actually warning you. That's the job of my Nabi and of my Rasul, is to warn you from going down a path that is ultimately going to be one of misery. Right? Although, in the short term, it might seem there's an enticement there, but in the long term, it's actually going to be miserable for us. That, I think, is like the meta Muslim consciousness, right? This is the sort of at key level. This is like the Quranic message again and again and again, and the message of the Sunnah. So the hadith that I want to reference right here is in Bukhari Sharif, is that the Prophet ﷺ said, a Muslim is the one who avoids harming Muslims with his tongue and hands. And then for our purposes, to focus on the second part, and the muhajir, the immigrant or the emigrant, is the one who gives up or literally abandons all that Allah has forbidden. So just to reiterate this point before we go on, the muhajir is the one that gives up and abandons what Allah has forbidden. To migrate from what is forbidden is what really this idea of not just a physical hijrah, but an internal hijrah, a spiritual hijrah, a mental hijrah, right? A ruhani hijrah, hijrah of the mind, body, and soul, is that is really what I want to go to. And why are we talking about this now? That Muharram gives us this beautiful annual reminder, right, of the power of the hijrah in our history and the history of the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu and the Sahaba and the Ahlul Bayt, and then subsequently for all of us, and how that message is a timeless message that we come back to again and again and again, and we revisit on an annual basis. Just like Ramadan comes again and we pray to Allah allows us to reach another Ramadan and another Ramadan and another Ramadan, because Ramadan is that purification. It is that, polishing off the dust and the rust of our hearts, right? That's just the nature of what time and what life does to us, is that on an annual basis, we need this physical, ritual reminder. We need these spiritual reminders, right? Of always turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, moving on, these are some of my notes that I took from my teachers over time, and I just wanted to consolidate and share with you. Hijrah left an indelible mark upon the collective Muslim consciousness. It has to do with human bonding, the ability of ideas, faith, and love to ascend above tribal loyalties. The movement of the Muhajirin, the immigrants to Medina, was the beginning of one of the most remarkable social experiments in history. The Ansar, literally the helpers, who had only years before been embroiled in bitter internecine conflict, welcomed these strangers with love, generosity, and nobility, giving them half of their houses, lands, fields, and possessions. And this is the ayah Allah Ta'ala references in the Quran, that our scholars reference in the Quran about this, about the Sahaba. They prefer others to themselves, though theirs be the greater need. And whoever is protected from the avariciousness of his own self, it is they who are successful. And this, in our tradition, just if you want to explore this later on your own, it's called ithar. Ithar in the Islamic lexicon and in the sort of the spiritual vocabulary of the Sunnah is that when you prefer others over yourself, even though you are yourself in great need. And that is one of the hallmark characteristics of the Sahaba and of Ahlul Bayt. may Allah Ta'ala be pleased with all of them. Just so we understand, like these are the people, the men and women, young and old, that Allah Ta'ala is referencing in this ayah. And so that we see this, right, in the lived experiences and the lives of the Ansar and the Muhajirin. And Imam Qushayri says and references this idea. He says the believers preferred others over as they were detached from material things of this world. Their hostility had been replaced by a powerful belief through the process of tajreed, of stripping away of avarice. Avarice is like this covetousness, to want, right? It's greediness. The stripping away of the greediness, leaving one free from oneself. True nobility is being free not to do just as we would please, but rather being able to control one's lower impulses, one's nafsani, right? One's nafsi desires, your base, carnal, lower impulses. This is why the Ansar were truly noble and free. For real nobility is more likely to come from giving than taking, from sacrifice, not from welcoming the sacrifices of others. And that, I think, this is a timeless, message. I would say in the world that you and I live in the dysfunctional societies that we are a part of, that we're seeing in our own society here, as well as global societies, and really the failure of, at multiple levels of human society and governance and failures of leadership and all of that, is that one of the things one could say is that it's one of the hallmarks of the failure of all of these systems around us is this just recurring theme of corruption and avarice, of greed and corruption. People raping, their own society's resources and pillaging them and using them for themselves at the national level, at the at the communal level, at the societal level. And you can also go from, you can start here and then work outward, or you can look at it the other way. And this is really a disease of our time. This idea of covetousness and greediness. And so may Allah Ta'ala save us all from that. May Allah Ta'ala save our hearts individually. May Allah Ta'ala save the hearts of our families. May Allah Ta'ala protect the hearts of our communities and our leaders, our Islamic leaders, our spiritual leaders, our teachers, our communal leaders. And may Allah Ta'ala allow us to just be people that bring positive change, which the world is so desperately in need of, especially in the time that you and I live in right now, where we're just seeing just complete genocide, right? It's around the world that's taking place in front of our eyes. So these are some of my notes that I want to share with you. So what does it mean, right? What is, with all of this, what's the takeaway? The takeaway is this: to ask yourself, what kind of Muslim am I, right? What kind of Muslim am I? Take yourself to account before you are taken to account. Weigh your actions before they are weighed, and beautify yourself. Oh, excuse me about that. And beautify yourself for the ultimate presentation. On that day, not the slightest secret will be hidden. This is a beautiful narration attributed to Sayyidina Omer ibn Khattab radiyallahu anh. And so I love this idea, because what it is I love this idea because in that is the essence of what we call muhasiba, the essence of self-reckoning, the essence of self-accountability. He says, and we'll just read it and then we'll move on. Take yourself to hisab. Do your hisab. Take yourself to account before you are taken to account. Meaning what? Before the day of judgment. Weigh your actions before they are weighed. In this dunya, if you think of a mizan is a scale. Weigh your actions, right, in this world. Like, I need to do this every day. What is the good that I did today? And what is the bad? What are the things that I could have done better that I shouldn't? What are the mistakes that I made that I want to correct? Weigh your actions before they are weighed by who? By Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala on the mizan and Yawm al-Qiyamah. Beautify yourself. Beautify yourself with good deeds for the ultimate presentation, right? To make yourself as presentable, right, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not by the jism, not by the flesh, but by the who? By the beautification of the soul. On that day, not the slightest secret will be hidden. What a powerful, beautiful, like right to the heart of the matter, in just a few words, encapsulating this whole idea of, really we are here. The message of the Quran again and again and again is that you will meet Allah, I will meet Allah. What am I doing to prepare for my meeting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's what's at the essence of what this kind of thing that he's saying. So now, how do we put that in the context of where we are right now? Keep asking your question. It's a very personal, very introspective question that every one of us has to look at ourselves in the mirror and has to then be asking, what kind of Muslim am I? Don't concern yourself with the affairs of other people. Don't concern yourself with the behavior of other people, good or bad. Ask yourself, what kind of person am I? what is my relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What's my relationship with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What's my relationship with the sunnah of the beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What's my relationship with the people that Allah ta'ala wants me to be mindful of, the hukuk that I am responsible to them for? So bid this year farewell, because it'll be a witness for some people and it'll be a witness against some other people, right? That this year could literally, the year that passed, it can be a witness for you, or it can be a witness against you. And that's what you have to weigh, is how is this entire year going to be set up for me? Our trade, our tijara, is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this really powerful that the scholars use the word tijara here, right? The trade with the business that you do in this world. It's more worthy of being evaluated. Your relationship with Allah, your tijara with Allah, is more worthy of you being evaluated than your tijara in the dunya. And that's powerful, because part of what makes the world go round, as they say, is this obsession with tijara, with trade, with business, with making money, with et cetera, because that's the world that we're stuck in, this dunya, right? We have to be in this dunya. But for too many of us, unfortunately, that is what consumes our mind, our energy, our consciousness, et cetera. Just as an aside, our scholars say, if you want to know your position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, think about how Allah Ta'ala ranks in if you want to know your rank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, think about how Allah Ta'ala ranks in your daily life. How often do you think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about your meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about the things that Allah Ta'ala loves and the things that Allah Ta'ala detests? Think about all of that. Where is that rank on your daily list of concerns and considerations? And then you'll know, you have an idea of how how you rank, quote unquote, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they say that, what is the heart, what consumes the heart? And there's a saying that this is attributed to Rabia Basriya, rahmatullahi alayha. Rabia Basriya, the very, very great, famous female scholar. She was a wali of Allah. She was an alima. She was just a extraordinary luminary of this ummah. And so she said that, and this is also attributed, by the way, they say it actually comes from Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, the expression, but the one that she has is that whatever is in your heart will manifest on your tongue. So whatever you talk about, regularly, with people, with your friends, with your family, at your work, et cetera. Now we have to talk about dunya, because we live in the dunya. You have to talk about like mundane, material things at some level. But what you spend most of your time talking about is what's in your heart, what is consumed by your heart. And then she also said, or the scholars also say, that what you think about, the first thing you think about when you wake up, and the last thing you think about when you go to sleep. These are the things that ultimately consume your heart, right? That what is the thing when you think about when your eyes wake up and the dawn of the new day, what is it that your heart first goes to and your thoughts first go to? And as you fall asleep and as you have the entire day to reflect on, the last thing that's in your heart, right, that you think about, these are the things that actually occupy your heart. So anyway, moving on. We should try to round off the year. Now, we've already started the year, but these are notes to kind of keep in mind. We should try to round off the year with acts that draw us closer to Allah, because the hadith is that actions are judged by their endings. Now, this idea of new beginnings, we want to reignite our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through several things. This is not an exhaustive list. I've tried to really sort of, give you the khulasa, really the summary of this here. One is worship, because the greatest thing that we can do to rehabilitate, right, and reinvigorate our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us to do, and the ibadah that our deen designates for us, particularly the salah, which is number one. After that, zakat and your som and hajj and Quran and tilawat and dhikr, etc. Is that this is all deep introspection. What is the status of my salah? Again, we could have an entire separate lecture on that, how to be more mindful and be more conscious and more heartful, as they would say, how to have khushu and khudu in your salah. I don't have the time to get into that right now, but I just want to tell you, just to reiterate to myself first and foremost, and then to other people, is, the most powerful ibadah that you can do, that Allah loves, that Allah wants us to do, that Allah expects us to do, is perfecting your prayer, perfecting your salah. Because that, out of all of them, if you were to rank them, the hadith again and again are replete with reminders of this, as is the Quran in so many places, is that really focus on how do I, if I'm praying 5 times a day, I can do more khushu and khudu in my prayer. If I'm not praying 5 times a day, I need to ask myself, what can I do to rehab myself to the point that I can get up to 5 times a day? If I'm not praying, there's some people, I know this, I work in the community, all of us are human, we all struggle with things. There's some people that struggle, prayer is a huge struggle of their life. So this is the time, let this be the year that you reconnect, right, and revisit right? And return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through your salah. Tawbah. Tawbah literally means to return to Allah, because Allah Ta'ala is always ready to accept your tawbah. They say that you can walk a million miles away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you can turn around with one thing, you can turn around and be right connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's your tawbah. The point is, it doesn't matter how far you stray, how far you've gone away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the sense through your sin, through your disobedience and transgressions to Allah. A sincere tawbah brings you right back in relationship and connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah ta'ala is always, always there waiting, and dare we say excited, is maybe a way of looking at it, is happy to accept our tawbah. And also repair your relationships with people, right? We talk about hukuk Allah and we talk about hukuk al-ibad. Repair your relationships with people is that apologize and redress wrongs. Now, this is an expression, we use it all the time in our culture, but we say this as a reminder, and I say it to myself first and foremost, none of us know how much time we have left. I know people that were with me and in my life last year that are not here anymore, right? I literally last week before Muharram started, I had to get called to the hospital to see a patient, and it was a very, very, very delicate situation with this patient's health, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm just a chaplain who goes and visits patients as part of my work. And I know we have many physicians in the community and on the call, and you're dealing with this on a day-to-day basis, right? The fragility of human life. And so why is that important here is at a very core level for us as believers, is that we all need to work. We all can do more to strengthen and beautify our relationships with our parents, if your parents are alive, with your spouses, if you have spouses, with your children, if you have children, with your siblings, if you have children, if you have siblings, with the people in your life. These are the core people, right? In terms of that hukuk upon you, is that we can always keep beautifying and replenishing these relationships. And if there's wrongs there, redress those wrongs, right? And just this is one of the core messages about beautification of akhlaq, beautification of your ethics, your morality, and your character. Now, just in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. I just saw the clock. The importance of history and the hijrah lessons. Plan strategically in your life. Work for good with anyone, right? We're in a time right now, we have all these global crises going on, and we have many people of conscience that have common cause with us on injustice. And so these are some of the lessons that we can extract. I don't have time to unpack all of these. And struggle is essential, because nothing good comes without struggle. And that's a step-by-step process, right? That's a struggle for me in my own personal rectification, my own tarbiyah, right? My own islah, and then the islah or the tarbiyah of our family, of our community, of our society, and on and on and on. And think of it in concentric circles radiating outward, is that there has to be struggle. And that's the nature of this dunya. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open a door for increase and to build foundation of revival for us in this year. Ameen. And success is realizing your ubudiyah, your servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, realizing that your honor is in lowering yourself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm summarizing a hadith here just in the interest of time, because I don't have the hadith in front of me at the moment. But whoever the Prophet is reported to have said in the general understanding, whoever lowers themselves or humbles himself for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala will give that person izzah. Allah ta'ala is al-mu'izz. Allah Ta'ala is the one that can raise people in izzah, because all izzah comes from Allah, and Allah is the most deserving of honor and respect. And so by lowering ourselves, by humbling ourselves, right, realizing our humility and servanthood to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, which is the one is that ultimately what everything is all about, is that will then give us, if Allah deems, right, honor and izzah in the places in this world. And ultimately it's not about this world, but it's about the akhirah, inshallah. Now, also on the 10th of Muharram, as was mentioned in the beginning, Ashura is the name. It comes from Ashara in Arabic. There's a very famous hadith I'll reference right here. It's in Bukhari. When the Prophet arrived in Medina, the Jews of Medina in Yathrib were observing the fast on Ashura. And then they said, and they were asked, what is it that you're doing? And they said, this is the day when Musa alayhi salam became victorious over Pharaoh. That's ultimately the day of their liberation, right, of what we call the Exodus, the liberation of the Bani Israel with Musa alayhi salam from the evil clutches of Fir'aun. And on that, the Prophet said to his companions, you, meaning the mu'mineen, the Muslimin, have more right to celebrate Musa alayhi salam's victory than they have. So observe the fast on this day, right? And so there's the beautiful proof text that when the Prophet makes hijrah, and he observes this, is that we recognize that it's a momentous day even in their calendar, right? And that we have a greater connection, we would say, with Nabi Musa alayhi salam. And so the Prophet is naming that here. That's the point. right? And saying that we fast on this day out of the majestic power and the beauty of that day, given the fact that what happened. Now, the day of Ashura has a great virtue and a tremendous sanctity, what we call hurma. Fasting on this day is a virtue and was known amongst the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet used to fast on this day, even in Mecca. Though he had not yet been ordered to do others to do so. When he migrated to Medina and found the Ahl Kitab fasting on his day to venerate it, he ordered the Muslims to fast and encouraged it so much that they said that even the children of the Sahaba used to fast on it. In fact, I was listening to one of the lessons of my teachers, and he said there's a beautiful hadith, which is a long hadith, but the Prophet told the Sahabiyat, right, the female companions in Medina, instructed them and gave them beautiful nasiha on how to prepare your young children, build the sort of the stamina, build the grit, as we would say, right, to prepare them for this idea of the power of fasting, so that even when they were children, before they were baligh, before they had to fast, but really to inculcate this mindset and this physical connection to the power of fasting. And so it is from the days in which Allah favored and honored those whom He had tested with trials and challenges and who responded to the right choices. The importance of knowing the history of faith, the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of the past prophets, the scholars, and the righteous, is that it gives us an embodied examples of turning to Allah through the test of life towards becoming His honored and beloved servants. Now, I just want to mention this right now. So there's obviously the power of Ashura and fasting on this, and from a fiqh point of view, from across our four Sunni madahib, the Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, and the Hanbali, there's broad consensus on this. I'm not going to go through the technical details of the fiqh of it, but the encouragement would be, I believe the Ashura, the 10th of Muharram, is going to be this coming Tuesday, and that will be the 10th. And so the scholars say it's good because there's another hadith, which I didn't cite here, where the Prophet ﷺ wanted to add a day to it. And this is a differentiation point, is that he encouraged the 9th and the 10th. Right, and so scholars say you can do the 9th and the 10th, or the 10th and the 11th, either the day before or the day after. Although you can just do that day, but it's mustahab. It's preferable. It's commendable to add a day to it. So you do it on Monday and Tuesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday if you're able to. And so I definitely encourage you, and do it with the niyyah of following the instructions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to fast on this day. It's a very momentous day, and there's another hadith that whoever fasts on the day of Ashura, that fasts it sincerely and with faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that the previous year of sins, of minor sins, are forgiven for them. Just like we had the hadith that we cited recently about the Yom al-Arafah, and there's authentic hadith about that, whoever fasts on the day of Arafah, is that the previous year and the forthcoming year's sins are forgiven. And the scholars say in brackets that these are the minor sins that are forgiven, but these are days of making tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like we referenced before. Now, the other thing I want to mention right now, the focus of this presentation is not on the other events of Ashura, which is the tragic shahadat and martyrdom of Imam Hussein radiallahu anh on the day of Ashura, on the 10th of Muharram. That is one of the darkest, saddest, most tragic days in Islamic history ever. And there's so much that our scholars have said and written about that, and that continues to be reminded, and retaught to our community, etc. That's beyond the scope of this, because that needs its own separate presentation that does justice to that. And I just will reference that there's a wonderful lecture online by my dear friend and one of my teachers, Mufti Hussein Kamani, who's an Imam at the Qalam Institute in Dallas, Texas. And you can look it up on YouTube. He has a wonderful, over 1 hour long historical presentation on just the events of Karbala and of the Shahadat of Imam Hussein radiallahu anh on Ashura, and everything that happened, the historicity of that event, and what happened to the events leading up to the tragic events of Karbala and the aftermath. And we need to learn this. We need to teach it to our children. We need to remind ourselves about the power of the message of that. And in essence, just before I move on, because I do want to leave some time for conversation, and there's still some more slides to get through, is one of the takeaways right there, right? If you want to draw a connection between the story of Musa alayhi salam and the story of Imam Hussein radiallahu anh, is that Musa alayhi salam, and there's so much that can be said about him, as a Nabi of Allah, as such a powerful character in the Quran Sharif and the Islamic history, etc. This is the power of, with Musa alayhi salam against Pharaoh, the power of truth over falsehood, and the power of redemption, and the power of justice against dhulm, against oppression, right? And the ongoing, the perennial struggle for justice against oppression, of establishing or aspiring to establish just systems that repulse, right, and that dismantle systems of oppression and systems of dhulm and systems of degradation of people. And so that's the connecting line, one could say, between the story of Musa alayhi salam that's being referenced in this hadith right here and the story of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anh, is that at his time as well, there was widespread corruption and corrupt systems and all sorts of scheming and machinations that were taking place by people with dark hearts, and that it's the power of the story of Ahlul Bayt and of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein radiallahu anhuma, is that what they had to endure, and ultimately what Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu gave his life for, right, in that battle against Yazid, on the plains of Karbala, is that really that's it's a dark, tragic day. This is not to take away from any of that, but for that we understand the message of what the sacrifice and the shahadat and the martyrdom of Imam Hussein is that one can never give up on this idea of struggle against injustice. Just like Musa alayhi salam struggled all those years, and Bani Israel struggled all those years, but ultimately they were victorious, right, by against Fir'aun. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure I gave that some attention, even though, like I said, it's beyond the scope of this. Now moving on, I'm going to shift gears. That's really about understanding Muharram and Hijrah, and trying to do some justice to the idea of understanding Ashura from the limited time that we have. In the last few minutes, and then I'll open it up, is I just want to share some beautiful quotes with you. Hopefully this resonates. These are people that I have studied with my teachers that I draw a lot of inspiration from. These are just some kind of things to leave you food for thought, spiritual food for thought. Maulana Rumi rahmatullahi alayhi, who is arguably the most famous Islamic scholar in the world, including the non-Muslim world, given the power of Maulana Rumi's, Jalaluddin Rumi al-Balkhi rahmatullahi alayhi's message, which is a beautiful message. And Maulana Rumi was a profound scholar of our deen, right? And I've been able to study a decent bit of the Masnavi and Maulana Rumi's writings with my teachers, and I've visited Konya Sharif many times. And so Maulana Rumi says here, which I just want to quote: "The soul has been given its own ear to hear things that the mind does not understand." And I'll say that one more time. The soul has been given its own ear to hear things that the mind does not understand. And I think that the reason I want to mention this is that it's so powerful, maybe particularly in the time that we live in right now. We live in an age of the glorification and the idolization of the mind, of the aql, right? And it's not lost upon me that I work at an Ivy League institution, that are said to be the best and brightest and most elite and prestigious and selective, et cetera, places in the entire world, right? In terms of who they train and who they teach and all of this, right? And the people doing the training and the teaching. It's this elevation of the aql. And this is not to take away from the power of the aql, but our tradition teaches us that the qalb, the heart, is the organ of cognition. Because Allah Ta'ala mentions the aql in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala says again and again, I think it's over a dozen times, Allah Ta'ala says, "Afala ta'qilun?" Aren't they people that reflect? Aren't they people that use their aql? But Allah Ta'ala says elsewhere, more and more in the Quran, that this life is all about purifying your heart, preparing your heart, polishing your heart, cleaning the rust off of your heart, cleaning the gunk out of your heart, cleaning the blemishes, cleaning the diseases, curing the diseases. It is possible through the book of Allah and through the sunnah of Rasulullah and through the teachings of our ulama, is that it's possible to do this spiritual purification, but it takes work, right? And the spiritual purification is what? It's all centered on the qalb, on the heart. And so the heart, the ruhani, the spiritual power, right, that the heart has been given, is much greater than what the mind can understand. And that's, in really short terms, a summary of what Maulana Rumi is saying here, that the soul can perceive, that has higher, deeper levels of cognition than even the mind can have. And that, I think, is very important in the time that we live in right now, when you see all of this malaise, all of this discombobulation, all of this unrootedness, all of this these diseases that are rampant, right? These sort of social diseases and spiritual diseases that are rampant in our society, that need alleviation, that need healing, that need to be mended, right? Broken hearts need to be mended. And we have been given the treasures of this deen, right? To first mend our own hearts and to attach ourselves with people that can help us, right? To be these caregivers, right? And healers in the world. And I love, I'm going to end with two or three more quotes. Imam Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya outlines the path of a believer's life, the life of being content, meaningful, and blissful, as well as pointing out its opposite. And he writes this, and I actually share this with my students in my khutbahs and halakas here. I love this very powerful quote that means a lot to me. From the signs of bliss and success is that a person, as he grows in learning, he grows in humbleness and compassion. And as he grows in works of faith, he grows in fear and vigilance. And you can substitute he or she here. And as they grow in age, they diminish in greed. And as they grow in wealth, they grow in generosity and giving. And as they grow in strength and status, they grow in drawing closer to others so as to serve them and help fulfill their needs. From the signs of misery is that a person, as they grow in learning, they grow in pride and conceit. And as they grow in works of faith, they grow in boasting, belittling others, having an inflated opinion about themselves. And as they grow in age, they grow in greed. And as they grow in wealth, they grow in stinginess and miserliness. And as they grow in status and standing, they grow in vanity and arrogance. All of these matters are trials and tribulations from Allah, by which He tries His servants. Through it, He makes some happy and blissful, while others are made wretched and miserable. And really, this idea of, right, we've been trying to reflect on a meta level is, the Muharram and the idea of hijrah, of this movement, this physical movement, this spiritual movement, this internal movement, right, is about leaving that which is miserable, leaving that which is wretched, leaving that which is deplorable, leaving that which is sickening, to that which is energizing, which is blissful, which is full of contentment, that which is flourishing, that which is nourishing, that which is life-giving, right? And all of this of growth versus decrepitude, versus a withering. And so we're living in a world surrounded by withering systems, right? Withering hearts, withering minds. And we have been blessed with this deen, that we are people that we want to be gardeners, right? And people of, the Quran says this again and again, this dunya is like a field. It's like a farm. And you are all farmers, and you have a responsibility to plant the seed, sow the seed, water the seed, nourish the seed, and then reap what you sow, right? In this, and take advantage of what we have right now. And the believer, right, that if you follow the path outlaid by the Quran and the Sunnah, is one of not that the struggle won't be there, but the struggle is deeply meaningful, deeply purposeful. And we live in a time that people are so desperately searching for what? Meaning and purpose. From all the work that I've done for 20 years, traveling across this country, campus to campus, community to community, congregation to congregation, this is the time that more so than ever, people are deeply in search of meaning and purpose. This idea of perspectives, just looking at time, I'm going to jump down. Well, I'll read it because it is really beautiful. These are notes from my teachers. It's extremely difficult to have faith while waiting. These are days of waiting, if you know what I'm talking about. We're seeing this and we want change, but the change just isn't happening. Delays are painful, but they certainly are blessings through and through. Only if you change your perspective and you choose to view them as such. You can't learn gratitude without loss. You can't learn to appreciate abundance without lack. You can't learn how to love without disappointment, and you can't learn companionship without lonely nights. Sometimes it takes sadness to know happiness, noise to appreciate silence, and absence to value presence. And Ibn Qayyim says, had Allah lifted the veil for a slave and shown him how He handles his affairs for him, and how Allah is more keen for the benefit of the slave than his own self, his heart would have melted out of love for Allah and would have been torn to pieces out of thankfulness to Allah. Therefore, if the pains of this world tire you, do not grieve, for it may be that Allah wishes to hear your voice by the way of dua. So pour out your desires in prostration and forget about it, and know that verily Allah does not forget it. And so much to unpack there, except I know, if I may, so many of our hearts are deeply in pain and heartbreak and grief with what we're seeing, what's going on in the world around us, in our communities, just in the entire, amongst the human family around us. And so it's in many ways maddening, right? When we look at how, like I said again, how corrupt, how inept, how sick, how degenerate, how deviant these systems and the people running these systems are, that it's enough to just, to take you to the brink of just, like, what do people talk about? They talk about how the grief is taking them to the brink of despair, right? But these are reminders from our tradition, from the Quran, the Sunnah, and from the teachings of our scholars, right? And really, so we understand the spiritual essence of this world. And then finally, this is also from Ibn Qayyim that I saw, that I read, that I want to share. If you could hear the sound of the pens of the angels writing your name amongst those who remember Allah, you would die out of joy. And this is attributed to Ibn Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi. And this idea of Allah Ta'ala loves the dhakirin. Allah Ta'ala loves the people that remember Him, that recite His book, that make the dhikr and the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that their lives are lives of khidmah, their lives are lives of service, their lives are lives of bettering humanity, taking care of the makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we can all do that in our own ways. Just remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly throughout your life. Now, that's beyond the time and the scope that we have right now. What does it mean to achieve that? But just keep that in mind. And so finally, the final two quotes. This is from Hazrat Abu Dharr Ghifari radiallahu anhu, who's a great Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's also actually known for his zuhd, known for his perspective, that he had, his personality with understanding the nature of this dunya. He says, "Mend the ship, for the sea is deep. Take all provisions, for the journey is long. Lighten the load, for the obstacles are difficult. And make sincere your actions, for the critic is all-seeing." And this is just a different perspective, right? Because different hearts respond to different things, to different stimuli. And so the idea there is that this sea is deep, the sea of the world that we're in. Mend your ship. Use this new world, this new year that we're in, right? Patch the holes in the hull. Get your ship seaworthy. Gather your provisions. And say, Abu Bakr, when he was asked about what does it mean to have provisions, through the dunya, that means they're good deeds. These are good deeds that are going to take you and answer for you and help you on the day of judgment. Lighten the load, for the obstacles are difficult. Get rid of the extraneous stresses in your life. Some stresses you can't remove, but there are stresses that we have unfortunately found ourselves in, that we've inculcated into our lives, that we can actually, sort of eliminate and take out of our lives. Part of that decluttering, that existential decluttering, cleaning up your finances, cleaning up your social life, cleaning up your personal life, your eating habits, your sleeping habits, all of these things are interconnected, right? They all impact each other. These are the obstacles, right, that are going to burden you, right? So use that sense of simplify, right? Minimize these distractions in your life to the best of your ability, and make sincere your actions. Develop ikhlas, because ikhlas is what will get you through. And the final slide I want to share with you is this. It's a beautiful dua from, it's a saying from Sayyidina Imam Ali ibn Talib radiallahu anhu. He said, "It is enough honor for me that you are my Lord, and it is sufficient pride for me that I am your slave. You are as I love, so make me as you love." Subhanallah. We'll read that one more time. It is enough honor for me that you are my Lord. He's talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is sufficient pride for me that I am your slave, that I take pride in my ubudiyah to you. And you are as I love, so make me as you love, right? My islah, my tarbiyah, my rectification, my beautification, my purification. Ya Allah, make me as you love. Make me live the life. Allow me to live the life. Rectify my life so that it's a life that you love. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this invitation again, and I'll end there with my slideshow, and inshallah we can open it up if the moderator or the audience has questions, inshallah. So jazakumullah khair.
Jazakallah khair, Imam Omer. That was a really great talk. You went into a lot of depth for a topic that actually, as you went through, we begin to realize how much unpacking there is. We could have 5 more, 10 more, 15 more lectures like this, alhamdulillah, to really unpack all of the stuff that goes into the beginnings and the chain and the systems and the justice and all of the things that you spoke about. So I'll open it up to everybody, inshallah. If you have questions, please unmute yourselves and feel free to ask Imam Omer. Perhaps I'll go first, if I may.
Yeah.
I love the quotes that you had there, and some of the things. But I'm going to ask you a more personal kind of at a regular level.
Yep.
This being the time of new beginnings, is there like a to-do list, like an everyday list that you can give us? That okay, you talked about the salah, but is there other stuff that maybe you have that you do, or maybe you could advise us that we could do? That inshallah will make this a year that will count for us.
Sure. Jazakumullah khair. Again, great questions, and I'm mindful of time, and I'll try to give you bullet points on this, and then other people can also please participate. And Jazakumullah khair for your patience. I'll just say this right now. I know I spoke a lot. There's a lot of material there, and may Allah forgive me if I said anything incorrect or misquoted or misinterpreted any of the sources. And if I cited my teachers, may Allah forgive me for that. Any good is from Allah, and and all the mistakes are from myself. Now, to answer his question, what I would say is, so we've talked about that. I won't reiterate that point right now. Is that rectify and really reorganize your life around your salah and everything. So we've already talked about that. So I'm going to move to the personal here. I'll give you a couple of really quick categories, right? In no particular order. First is, I think we talk, I mean, I'm just as guilty as all of us are, our lives are connected to this, our digital devices, and really this idea of digital hygiene. I've been reading a lot about this and talking a lot about this with my colleagues and my students, is that we really need to be more mindful of our digital hygiene. So what do? Is declutter your life. How many social media apps are you on? Do you need to be on these? Are you finding it affecting your mental health? Are you finding it affecting your emotional health? If so, and even especially to the parents and to the young people on the call and that are listening to this, is that take a hard look at really your screen time usage, right? I mean, study after study after study that's coming out, right, from institutions all across the world, right, that study this sociologically, that study this neurolinguistically, etc. Neurologically, is that we have so much overwhelming evidence that increased screen time leads to poor self-esteem, leads to poor mental health, leads to all this range of things. I'm not even going to list all of them right now. So number one thing I would say, besides what we already talked about, is really we need to use this year to declutter our minds, our hearts, our lives, and our attachments to this. Right. Again, I'll just put that out there. I can't go into too more detail right now. Number two is, I think that I've been reading a lot about this as well with my friends, is that as Muslims, we need to take our physical health very seriously. It's a blessing. The gift of health is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Shafi rahmatullahi is reported to have said that that good health is like a crown that only the sick can see, right? That when I see the good health on someone else, that it's a crown, it's a taj, right, that I'm so envious of, because I may not have good health myself. And so the point there is, really do what you need to do. We can all eat better. We can all take our physical health and fitness and wellness more seriously. I really seriously encourage that, and I'll tell you why. In this past year, I myself, at a very personal level, and I try to be mindful. I used to be an athlete. I was very active, etc. But I've been having some health problems that have really forced me to reevaluate certain things in my life. And I've had really deep conversations with my family and with my physicians and with my teachers about this, because I find that, I've been blessed with good health my entire life. And in this last year, I've had some struggles. And then you're like, wow, this really impacts so many areas of my life. So all that's to say, if you're on the call, take your health and invest in your health seriously, because your life, your body, your wealth is your health. Is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will be asked about it. So take that to heart and seriously. And the last thing that I'll say, we could go on and on, but I want to give you some kind of big ideas here. First is digital hygiene. Next is physical hygiene. And the last one, I would say, we've already talked about spiritual hygiene. The last one is what we call relationship hygiene. Relationship hygiene, I alluded to before, is really use this time to think about who are the most important, valuable people in your life. And honestly, please, this is the message to myself first and foremost, really reevaluate, how can I be a better fill in the blank? How can I be a better son? How can I be a better brother? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better father? How can I be a better, etc., etc., right? Is that use the blessing of time that you have left, or that you have in this coming year, inshallah, to really optimize, for lack of a better term, your relationship to your parents, to your spouse, to your children, to your siblings, to your close friends, etc., etc. But that takes a hard look at yourself, as asking, what am I bringing to the relationship, and how can I do better? And there's a lot of, mashallah, obviously in our Islamic tradition, but even beyond that, there's a lot of literature out there that I think is really powerful, good literature in the sociological, in psychology and sociology, that writes about this, about how we need to really invest in our social relationships. Why? and this is just I'm gonna do a throwaway here and then I have to move on, is that we're living in a time of increasing levels of mental health crises. We all know this, the data is overwhelming, right? Mental health crises, loneliness epidemic, the sense of dislocation that people have, emotional dislocation that people have, social dislocation that people have. And why? Because we feel very disconnected from people because we have not taken care of our relationships, or many of us haven't, I should say, as well as we could have. And then we're seeing the after downstream effects of that, right? You're seeing that society is really fraying at the seams in so many levels, right? If you imagine here and it radiates outward. That is what I've been reading a lot on my own as well. For people that follow Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General just had an op-ed that came out a few weeks ago about media usage, about he wrote a whole book on loneliness, the loneliness epidemic. That's where my mind space is at, because this is what I'm reading and teaching and discussing with my students in my community and campus. So I hope that answers your question, Mike.
Oh yeah, no, that was some great tips, and that's exactly what I was looking for. And Jazakallah khair. May Allah give you complete shifa as well.
Thank you.
That can happen and happens to everybody. Any other questions? I know the time for Maghrib is closed in, but let's see if we have any other last questions at all. I think that was very comprehensive, Omar Bhai, and we really do appreciate that. We all, we would love to have you come give us another talk in person, as I said at the beginning, inshallah. And Jazakallah khair for gracing us here today at this very sacred time. Maybe we can end with a little dua, and then inshallah we'll close.
Sure, okay. I know in my Maghrib time as well. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, we ask you, we beg you, and as you've blessed us with the ability to have a new year, a new Hijri year. Ya Allah, allow us to reconnect our hearts to you. Ya Allah, please allow us to recognize all of the blessings that you've given us. Ya Allah, we ask you to reconnect through the salah, to reconnect through the book, through your book, reconnect through the relationships that you have blessed us with. Ya Allah, we ask you to bless us with all of the good that your Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked for. And Ya Allah, we ask your protection from all of the evil that your Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked protection from. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen, bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin.
Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. And again, Jazakallah khair. We will be announcing a couple more programs, before we take a summer break. I know it's summertime, but inshallah, just keep an eye out for them. We will be sending them out on email. And once again, thank you so much, Imam Omer. And inshallah, we will all be in touch. May Allah allow us to meet again soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Thank you, man. Assalamu alaikum.